And welcome to episode number 14 of the QCast. Really cool episode today as we reveal the roster for We Are D3. And I am thrilled to be joined by Mike Rejniak, the general manager and head coach of We Are D3. Mike, I've been waiting for this one for a while. I know D3 Nation has. How the heck are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Bob. Thanks for having me. So excited to be talking with you this morning.
Yeah, me too. And we're going to talk about what TBT is and what We Are D3 is, if people aren't familiar. First, let's talk about you. I know that you have long Division III ties across many fronts. Your current day jobs around recruiting. You've been a head coach. You've been an assistant coach. How about we just start with you before we dig in? Let's just kind of talk about your D3 story, if you would.
Yeah, well, I've been pretty much a D3 lifer my entire career. I grew up in rural Western Massachusetts, and I ended up playing, helping out, coaching, all that stuff at Springfield College, which was 40 minutes from my house. Had a phenomenal D3 experience there. Then I kind of kept on the D3 train and did my graduate work at the College of New Jersey. And then, really coached at Division III for, 16 years, 7 of which I was a head coach at a university. I primarily worked at a lot of high academic schools like Demers College. We had some phenomenal teams there. And so really got to see, not only kind of the inner workings of Division III, but really like when it's played at its absolute peak, and had some phenomenal experiences, had some great times coaching some players. Now I work for Next College Student Athlete as a basketball recruiting specialist, so kind of helping out families figure out their recruiting journeys and kind of what that entails, while also working with coaches, helping kind of fill their rosters. And obviously, I do We Are D3 as a project as well, and it's really been cool to see that kind of entity grow throughout the years, and be able to give a platform to some of these Division III basketball players that truly are phenomenal, not only as players but as people, and to give them an ability to tell their story. It's been really cool to see that transpire. Gosh, now I think we're now going 4 years. 4 years we've done it. So it's been pretty cool to see that happen.
So you really do have D3 experience that spans from being a student to being a coach, and now being kind of part of an organization that helps student athletes, and including Division III. So you really have a strong understanding of all things Division III basketball, which is awesome. We're going to get into TBT here in a second and what it is, but how did you get involved in this? How did this all play out? And just talk us through.
Yeah, really, it was just me sitting and watching. When I was the coach, the only really quote unquote off season is maybe 2 weeks in July, where there's not a whole lot going on in recruiting, because Division III doesn't have depth periods. But I remember sitting in my living room and I was watching ESPN, and they had the TBT going on. It was like year 2 or 3, and I just loved the how it was structured in a tournament format. I love the fact that it was different teams from different walks of life with different themes. And I was watching the play, and I knew it was played at a high level, but I also knew that just with my coaching experiences and what I've seen at the Division III level, like Division III should really be represented in this tournament, because I really feel when you get the absolute best that our division offers, we could do some things and bring more of, I think the biggest thing for me, being as a coach, player, involved now on the recruiting side, has been just this overall negative stigma of Division III.
Right.
That for those that don't know, they don't know. But really, like us that are like yourself and the D3 Hoops guys, like we've seen it for many, many years, how awesome the level of play can be. So really, I started thinking, and a couple weeks went by, and it still was in my head, and I was looking for some things to do, and I reached out to TBT, and I was like, listen, what is it going to take I'm looking at in the summer putting together a team of Division III All-Americans to participate in your tournament, and they said, Mike, we well open to it. These are kind of some steps. And it turns out that the owner, John Mugar, is a Tufts alum, so he's got D3 ties as well. So he liked the idea, and so then we got talking with Dan Friel, who's also a co-founder, and just kind of got the ball rolling from there. And then I started talking to, a local assistant coach I was working with, Matt Droney, who won a national championship at Babson, and he was a coach. I was like, hey, you want to do this together, and we'll kind of piece together a team. And then I started calling just everybody that I knew, just my Rolodex of players through the years that, if I was to comprise this quote unquote D3 dream team,
right?
And that's kind of the theory that we've gone with, with it, if it will work. And we did get enough interest, and we've kind of been more refined throughout the years, and it just kind of took off from there. But that's kind of how it all started. And originally we had to get in. The way you got into the tournament guaranteed at that time was by votes. So Division III, we're the biggest division out there.
Right.
So I remember just soliciting just these votes for, please vote for your own division. And we ended up getting in by votes. From there on in, it's been pretty much, after that year, it's been a strict selection process where you have to put together a roster, you have to show a resume, and they pick you like a tournament committee would.
And you've played, I believe, twice now, correct? We Are D3 has fielded 2 teams and played extremely well. Now, this is a single elimination tournament. And you played the Sons of Westwood, which is a group of UCLA alums one year, played tough, and then played Boeheim's Army, which was obviously a group of Syracuse guys. Well, the experience of the first 2 years, I mean, We Are D3 represented really well.
Yeah, and I think it's been a learning process throughout all of it. And I think the first 2 years, they seeded us at 16, on the side. So we obviously play the number 1 seed. Now, I know we're not a 16 seed. I know, but we're also an unknown commodity as well. So I get that. I think I saw in the first year we were in it, ESPN ranked us like the 64th team out of 64. But it's been one of those things where it's been a learning process as well, because it's single elimination, because you're bringing guys from all walks of life and they're from really all over the country. It's not like we're just all regional. So just to have it be structured, but also for me and Coach Matt Droney, we take great pride in putting out a great Division III basketball product.
Right.
Because I knew when we were going to do this, if we did anything half speed or did anything, cut corners or anything, it would not look well at all. So year one, we led UCLA for 3 quarters, and then the 4th quarter, it was like the gas just went out the tank, and UCLA blew out the doors. And Boeheim's Army, we led pretty much the entire game and made a comeback at the end and ended up losing on free throws in the Elam ending, which, by the way, after that tournament, they pretty much changed the way Elam ending rules go, and the fact that it can't end on free throws. So I wish that was in place that year, because I had a 3-play lined up for Johnny McCarthy from Amherst lined up right away, and I knew he was going to knock it down. And then last year was the COVID year where they shrunk the tournament down to 24 teams. And we were still going to go, but COVID was still relatively new. They wanted us to go as an alternate team. And I made the decision to not bring anybody there because A, the virus, B, the unknown quantity of if we were even playing, because I'm not going to bring the whole team for 2 weeks away from their families to not even play. As it turns out, we would have been in and we would have been fine. But that's the story of my life. Hindsight's 2020. But so this year they're going back to 64 teams, and I think we should be not a 16 team at all. And I think we've proven ourselves that way. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this year brings.
And let's just talk about the tournament a little bit. I've got some kind of bullet points here I got off the website for everyone before we then get into your roster, which is awesome. Your roster is super cool and loaded. And I look forward to talking player by player of your 10 players. So this is a 64 team, picture the NCAA bracket. It's a bracket. It's single elimination. And this is a winner take all $1 million prize pot. Is that correct? So if we are D3 gets it done, we got some money coming to the boys, right?
Yeah. And like, I tell you, by the time taxes get started, we might not have any money, but yeah. So like the way you can kind of structure it, each player can get different amounts of money and things like that. We just split it up evenly. If that were to happen, we were to be fortunate enough to do so. For me and kind of Coach Droney, we just want to make a run. And I think we're at that stage now where we're in a position to. So I look forward to that. But yeah, 64 teams, winner take all. Second place gets nothing after 3 weeks of hard work.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You're the first or you're last. I love it. The rosters are comprised, as I understand it, mostly of former college basketball players, a large percentage of which would be playing professionally currently, mostly overseas, because I don't think there's any NBA players in the tournament.
No,
correct?
And you'll see players that are in between contracts, NBA contracts in there, like maybe coming off of a G League contract, and then they're trying to play their way in, like several players that they've had in the past, Jimmer Fravert, Joe Johnson, who's like an 11 billion time all-star in the NBA. He was in between contracts. But mostly they're all professionals playing somewhere.
Right.
A lot of it in the Asian super leagues, Israel, Europe, South America. They're kind of from all walks of life. Every team typically has a theme to it, whether it be playing for some sort of cause like sideline cancer last year, made a deep run, or you're typically an alumni team.
Right. Like Sons of Westwood and Bayheim,
exactly,
and those sort of
so
things.
For us, I mean, we're kind of an alumni team, as a Division II team as well. But typically it's very tough to get in. Like, you got to have not only the talent, but also you got to have a story. And you got to obviously pique interest where, you're going to have a fan base behind you as well.
And these are awesome games. By the way, they're on ESPN, correct? I've watched this the last several years. So yeah. These are highly competitive games with talented players, many of which you have watched play on TV. So this is the real deal. And for D3 to be at the table, to get a chance to show what it can do, which it's done twice now. Played again, that UCLA team and Syracuse team, both really tough. This is a great opportunity for Division III. A little more about the tournament. The teams are selected between May 1st and June 15th. So they're in that selection process now. We Are D3 has already been selected, been confirmed. There's 4 16-team regions: Wichita, West Virginia, Illinois, and Columbus. I believe We Are D3 will be playing in Columbus. Is that correct? Do you know that yet? Or?
I think that's the default. We are applying for Wichita.
Okay, gotcha.
So
okay.
We're going to be, just because of the schedule setup, but also centrally for us we're from all over the country. So Kansas, It's kind of central. I don't know what's going on in Wichita in July, but I heard it's lovely. So never been there, but I'm looking forward to it. So, you know, I think that game will be July 16th. And then kind of that weekend, I think it's Wichita, and I want to say it's West Virginia. That will be the two pods going off that weekend, and then the next weekend will be the other two, followed by the championship weekend in Dayton, Ohio.
And they get down to 2 teams per bracket, so they play the 16-team brackets down to where there's basically an Elite 8.
Correct.
And then they go play the Elite 8. You said the location for that is it Dayton? Is that correct?
I think it's Dayton. Yeah,
Dayton,
I think it's
Ohio.
Dayton. Yep.
And that's July 31st to August 3rd.
Mhm.
6 wins get you $1 million.
Mhm.
Each team has a general manager. Teams
Mhm.
can choose to have a coach or not have a coach, kind of coach themselves. In our case,
Mhm.
we're lucky to have Mike here in the role of GM and head coach, and he's
Mhm.
got an assistant, might have a second one. We'll talk about that.
Mhm.
The Elam ending is really cool and unique, and it's become kind of a fan favorite of a
Mhm.
lot of basketball aficionados, in that the way it works is that the first stoppage in the fourth quarter, so you play 4 quarters, the first stoppage at or under 4,
Mhm.
you take the leading team's score, and let's say that team has 70 points, you add 8, and you say that the game ends first to 78, and that's your winner. What do you think about the Elam ending? You mentioned it going south on you there on free throws, but what's your thought on the Elam ending?
I think it makes you play hard. I do think it makes the game more concise, where it's not a foul fest at the end. It is a different way to coach. When I first coached in it, vastly different than normal end of game scenarios.
Right.
Where every foul, you could potentially put them on the line, but that margin of error becomes razor thin because you're allowing the other team to put points on the board. So I am a fan of it. It's just different. And I think, like, you know, TBT has done a lot of trend setting in the game of basketball with the Elam ending first, then the bracket celebrations. Now that you see that on, you know, NCAA, when it's March Madness, they do all the bracket celebrations, same thing there. I think they're continuing to work and tweak the Elam ending so that it's more refined, like the free throw rule I was talking about earlier. It is good for the game in terms of when it comes to overtime and specific endings and things like that, where it's not just this super long thing. It does make teams play harder all the way to the end because your back really is against the wall. There is zero margin of error. There is no time on the clock except for the shot clock. So, like, you can grind out. If you have if you're behind and you have a really solid defensive team, I've seen teams really start to grind through. But at the same point in time, you do reward the team that has been the better team for the course of those 3.5 periods, where you do give them an advantage, where they can earn the right. And more often than not, does the team that's ahead win? I would say around like 60 to 70%. But when it's that other 30%, it does get really exciting. So I do think it's a unique flair to the game, and I think it will be incorporated at the higher levels, especially when it comes to overtime and things like that.
It is cool, and it's different.
I think they're just figuring it out.
Yeah, to see that the clock turns off, the shot clock still continues, but the clock turns off at that point that the final number is set. And that's very different for people to wrap their arms around. But it is, I think it's unique, and anything that causes conversation in a setting like this, where it's kind of a cool tournament, a chance to experiment with stuff.
Yep.
It is something that's become popular with a lot of people.
Mhm.
So let's do this. Let's talk about your team. That's what people are tuning in here today to learn about. You have 10 players. You have a team loaded with Division III All-Americans. And looking at the roster, I love the diversity in regions, in conferences. You have a good mix of perimeter guys and post players. So let's kind of talk through your roster. For people that want to follow along, what you can do is go to thetournament.com, then go to teams and scroll down and find We Are D3. Click on that, scroll down just a little bit, and you're going to see, let's meet We Are D3. All of the players, the roster will be right there as we do this here today. They're loaded and ready to go. And Mike, I'm going to go in order of the way they're listed there on the website, which is alphabetical by first name. So let's start in the powerhouse WIAC conference. The Titans of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, one of your post players, 6'8" forward, guy that can play the 3, he can play the 4. Adam Fravert, a Division III All-American, as a senior, averaged 18 points, 9 rebounds. As a junior, won a national championship, put on a show in Fort Wayne, Indiana against Swarthmore. Talk about your 6'8" forward, Adam Fravert.
Yeah. So when compiling the roster, I think that's, and I'll kind of talk about Adam, but that's the toughest thing we have to do. I'm only allowed 10 spots. Anything more than that, TBT, I have to pay them $1,000. Now we're Division III, so you know our budget. So we don't have $1,000 just laying around. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and it's a lot of back and forth. We've had to let All-Americans go and National Players of the Year go. I can't make everybody happy. I try to, Coach Droney and myself really wrap our heads around compiling not only we want to be representative of the division. We want to be representative of different conferences and schools, but also ultimately we want to put together the best team, period. And what we found in the previous experiences of playing in TBT, versatility in the tournament is at a premium. It just so happens, in my opinion, the tournament doesn't really cater to like a 7-foot big because it's just so up and down.
Right.
Which obviously helps us because if you're a 7-footer at Division III, a talent might be lacking. Who knows? There are enigmas like AJ Matthews a couple years ago from Farmingdale. He was unreal. But Adam Fravert, in that line of versatility, fits that mold to a T.
For sure.
He's 6'7", he's long, he knows how to win. In-out type of big that really runs the floor. Got a really nice competitive streak. With all of these players, just being a D3 nerd myself, these are all players that I've watched throughout kind of their careers, kind of from the sidelines. So to get to coach a player like Adam Fravert, who's coming off of a great season in Denmark, is unreal. It's really cool for me because for him, like you said, he put an unreal show in Fort Wayne. He's a winner. He can shoot the 3. He can drive. He's got a lot of stuff to his game, and defensively, he's rock solid just because of his length. So I'm really excited to have him be a part of the team because he's coming in more seasoned than he was a year ago, which is really cool for me to see for him.
And as you mentioned, coming off a big year, a rookie year in the Danish Basketball League, just an impressive player. Versatile would be the key word there. A guy that could play 3, 4, either one, play inside, outside. Keeping with versatility, we'll stay in the Central region. We'll move to another great conference in Division III, the CCIW, and they're dancing in the streets in Bloomington, Illinois, as Brady Rose of Illinois Wesleyan. You talked about versatility. Brady Rose, a guy that plays both the point and the 2, truly a combo guard that can play either one. Brady was an All-American in 2019, averaged 21 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, shot the 3 at 44% and free throws at 86%. Coming off his second professional year this year, he was in the Balkan League. He was in Germany before that. Talk a little bit about your guard from Illinois Wesleyan, Brady Rose.
It's probably more your guard from Illinois Wesleyan.
He's my guy.
That's your dude. That's your dude. With Brady, he was a player that I had my eye on for a while. Obviously, I love watching Coach Rose's teams at Illinois Wesleyan. I think they play phenomenal basketball. I think they're well coached. And obviously, Brady, being a coach's kid, has really exemplified that. I thought for him, what he's done with just, from sophomore year all the way up, like just he's really dedicated himself to his body, his ball handling. Obviously, shooting is a gift for him. But for him, what he gives us is really his IQ. He is a phenomenal, smart player that knows how to play the right way, knows how to make the extra pass, but also is not too passive where he'll burn you if you give him anything. And I think for him, when we were looking at guards, we wanted a versatile guard that could not only shoot, but handle the rock. And I think when things could get chaotic, he would be a player out there that would really keep the waters steady for us and understand kind of what needs to happen next. And I think with Brady, he's a natural leader, just because of what he's been required to do at Illinois Wesleyan in the Balkan League and things like that. So I think for him, he fills a lot of that kind of guard IQ types of needs. And really for him, a lot of these players just in general, they haven't even reached their prime yet,
right?
Which is really exciting for me because hopefully we can keep this team together for several years and really kind of see them grow as they get more and more seasoned in their professional careers. But definitely Brady hasn't even, he's playing at a phenomenal level, but in my opinion, he's just scratching his ability, what he could be.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's gotten better every year and he continues to as a professional. He's certainly better than he was as a senior at Wesleyan. So Titan fans are very excited to have Brady representing Division III on We Are D3. Moving into the West region, love the diversity of regions here and moving into the SCIAC conference. From Pomona-Pitzer, Dan Rosenbaum, who's a 6'5" guard, 19 points, 6 rebounds a game. In 2019, the year he graduated, he's been playing in the Israeli league. Another guy that's having a ton of success professionally. Talk about Dan Rosenbaum and what he brings to the team as a 6'5" guard.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really hear too much about the West Coast D3s. Really kind of Midwest, East Coast Division III. Obviously on the West Coast you got Dan's league, but you got Whitman, Whitworth, but pretty much that's it. Not a whole lot as compared to the East Coast. So for him, we looked at him, we wanted him a couple years ago, and just it didn't work out just because COVID, all that stuff, bring him back. But Dan really kind of sticking with that whole versatility. He's a really elite scorer. He is really elite and knows how to take his guy one-on-one off the dribble. Obviously put up a ton of points at Pomona-Pitzer. He's doing it again with his in the Israeli league out there. But for him, he's a strong wing that really is tough, not only scoring, but also rebounding as well. And obviously very, very gifted. Kind of one of those, sticking with, the whole mantra of Division III, we're a bunch of smart kids. Well, pretty much all the entire roster has good high IQ. But Dan stands right up there as well. And I can't wait to see his kind of showcase because once again, he's one of those players that I think can break out big time.
And it is cool to get representation from the West Coast Division IIIs. They're just so geographically isolated that except for the NCAA tournament, Pomona-Pitzer was heading to the Sweet 16 the last time there was a Sweet 16. And a lot of times, I think they were going to play Elmhurst actually. And so it's good to shine a spotlight on that West Coast, both the Northwest Conference with Whitworth and Whitman, the SCIAC with Pomona-Pitzer and Cal Lutheran and all those guys. Talented basketball out there as well. Good to have Dan Rosenbaum on the team. Let's move to DaQuan Brooks from Western Connecticut State, Northeast Region, LEC Conference. I guess he's your oldest member of the group. He graduated in 2012, but this guy, 5'10" point guard. Here's what he did as a senior: 29 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. He's a Division III All-American. He's been a professional now for, I believe, 9 years, including NBA G League team. I mean, professionally, this is your most decorated player on your roster. Talk about what he brings to this team.
Yeah, I mean, DaQuan, he's kind of like our old man, but really, like with DaQuan, he's in the prime of his career right now. I think he's had all these experiences. He's been, obviously, when I was coaching, he was the top dog, one of the top dogs, if not the top dog in all of Division III basketball that I saw, because he's phenomenal. Point guard that absolutely understands the game, but really, I really liken him to like an Isaiah Thomas when Isaiah Thomas played for the Celtics.
Yeah.
So the second coming of Isaiah Thomas,
yeah.
But because he's that type of scrappy player that plays with a chip on his shoulder, will dig in defensively, runs the team efficiently. In my opinion, he belongs in the G League, and he belongs playing at a really high-end, top-level team, because I think for him, he's one of those players where you're like, with all the players really on our team, you're like, well, how did he end up at Division III?
Yeah. He's
one of those players that you're like, why didn't you play at like Michigan? Because he's like that good. And I think for him, after the TBT, he'll have plenty of high-level professional opportunities. He should have them currently right now, but then COVID hit. And like with a lot of these players, kind of threw a lot of things up in the air,
right?
Where opportunities kind of, just because of travel restrictions and things on those lines. But for him, he is our most decorated player. I think his experience playing against NBA guys and with NBA guys is going to be vastly, I can state it, but it's still vastly understated, because just his level of experience, he sees the game better than any coach. Like he's going to be out there, and I'm going to wonder what he's doing, but he'll always do the right thing, and he'll make us go. So I'm really excited to kind of see what not only he does in the TBT, but also post TBT, because he does belong on a G League team ASAP.
And I agree with you. He's one of the guys that you will see and be like, I can't believe he played Division III. He is a phenomenal player, and it's great to have his leadership and experience on the roster. Let's go back to the Central Region, St. Louis, Missouri, the UAA. And I love this selection. DeVaughn Rucker from WashU, played for Pat Yuckham and the Bears, a 6'5" forward, another really versatile forward player. This isn't just a back to the basket guy. This is a guy that faces, he can play back to the basket, big, strong, physical guy, 13.7 rebounds, 53% field goals as a senior. He's been playing in the British Basketball League, and you talk about wanting some smarts on the floor with this team of smart kids. Well, he's getting his master's in mechanical engineering right now, and as part of that is playing in the British Basketball League. Talk a little bit about your player from WashU, DeVaughn Rucker.
And with him, actually, he actually tabled British going in the British League for 1 year, just because he couldn't get over there for COVID. So he'll be going over there. But yeah, smart dude. Now, mind you, all those numbers he put up at WashU, half of the season he lost that year because of he had a concussion. So like he dealt with some things senior year and still put up those amazing numbers. He's one of the quote unquote, if you were looking at the roster, you'd be like, well, who is this dude? But he's going to make he is a phenomenal player, tough, can defend multiple positions, not afraid to go against guys bigger than him, not afraid to guard guards smaller than him. For me, that's why we selected DeVaughn, because he not only offensively, but like for us, defense is one of our pillars, and he provides a toughness that I think is rarely found, because he does play defense with pride, and he is one tough son of a gun, and he pretty much dunks everything. So that's good too.
Yeah,
So
I've
like
seen him
that
play
helps.
a lot of games and watching the UAA, and he fits what you need. You need a defender. You need someone to do the dirty work. You can't have a bunch of guys out there that are all looking to score. He's a guy that can score, but he's more of a kind of a get the job done first guy.
He's a lunch pail guy.
Yeah.
He's a lunch pail guy, packs his lunch, goes to work every day. Pat must have had a blast coaching him at WashU. He is exactly, when I was a head coach, he'd be exactly the type of player that I would anchor my team around.
Yeah, great player. DeVaughn Rucker from WashU. Let's move to a guy that led the nation in scoring in 2020. So we'll go to the Northeast region and the CCC conference. From Gordon is Eric Demers. And check out these stats. His senior year, 32.4 points a game, 5.6 rebounds, 2 assists. He shot the three at 41%.
Yeah.
You're talking about a pretty elite player right here in Eric Demers.
Yeah, and he will correct me. It is Demers.
Demers. I'm glad you
said that. He just
said
stopped correcting people after because they were having to say his name over and over in each game, because he was putting up like about 1 billion points.
Eric Demers. If you score 32,
yeah.
I'm going to say your name right.
Yeah, that's right. It was he is from a relatively small school out on the East Coast there. Really with him, he's just a flamethrower. I mean, the guy is an elite level scorer. And right now, like he was talk about COVID affecting him. He's been doing a lot of training with a trainer by the name of Jordan Lawley out in California. He's been playing with the Celtics when they were in transition between the bubble scenario. He was, in my opinion, he's one of those G League types of players where he was going to probably be with the Red Claws, but they never sent a G League team down to the bubble. So it's kind of one of those COVID scenarios. Him and his agent right now are kind of figuring out where he's going to play after TBT. But with him, he is a 3-level scorer. He can drive and finish. He obviously shoots the three at a great clip. He draws the foul well. His range is pretty darn impressive, and that's with him. His next step for him is playing obviously full on pro, which he's been doing like in runs and training and things like that. But when he gets to a team, they're going to be really lucky to have him, because he is very gifted at scoring.
Yeah, Eric Demers from Gordon, again, 32 points a game in 2020. It'll be exciting to see him on the floor for We Are D3. Moving to player 7, Fenton Bradley, another player from Western Connecticut State in the Northeast region, a 6'8" forward, another versatile type post player. As a senior, 16 points a game, 6 rebounds, shot 54% from the field. He can shoot the three as well. Fenton's been playing in the Danish basketball league and doing very well there. Talk about your 6'8" forward and Fenton Bradley.
Yeah, just an absolute gazelle up and down the floor. Very transition oriented, which is what we needed. Unreal hops. Like this guy dunks everything with aggression. I think for him, he's still growing into his role, because I think he exploded at WestCon his senior year, and now he's kind of figuring out the pro game and is now starting to really come on there as well. Phenomenal, just overall up and down type of player. Once again, very reminds me, his length kind of similar in a Fravert sense, where he can defend multiple positions, but like really with him, It's his speed, it's his athletic ability, and obviously pretty talented, scoring the rock. But really, he's providing kind of a transition sense to us, and an athleticism where he can get some boards where you'd be like, wow, how did he even get that? So I think with him, he's doing really well in Denmark. I think he's going to end up playing himself up even more levels as he continues to get older. So it's going to be kind of seeing what he does from here on in, because I think for him, he's just scratching the surface, but up and down type of player. Very, very gifted in the open court.
And like you said, probably not a lot of room for 6'10", 6'11" guys that aren't mobile. So you've got, a couple 6'8" guys that can really move and do different things. Perfect fit for this kind of style of game. Let's move to player number 8. And my friend Pat Coleman will be excited about this graduate of Catholic. And that's Riley Hayes, who's a 6'8" forward, averaged 15 points and 11 rebounds in 2020. He's been playing in the Estonian basketball league. So more size on your team with Riley Hayes. Talk about your 6'8" forward here.
Yeah, I've known Riley since he was a high school player. I recruited him when I was a coach. I've always loved his game because of he was 6'8", could shoot, but even had a little bit of flair with back to the basket game to him, which I think is somewhat of a lost art nowadays. Where with him, strength, he had a great career at Catholic. I think he was a starter all 4 years, which is very rare. And obviously they play in a phenomenal league down there, and obviously it is historically a phenomenal program as well. But with him, he's going to be kind of a rebounder, back to the basket type of scorer, really plays with an aggressive personality. And by that, I mean, he's the type of player that you want as a teammate, but you would hate to coach against, because he's just that type of wants to win so bad. He's competitive. I saw it in high school. I saw it at Catholic. I see it now in Estonia. But he just wants to win, and he'll do whatever it takes to help his team win. And especially with him anchoring the middle, he's got a great voice to do so.
Yeah, big time career at Catholic, a huge part of their program, and great to see them represented with Riley Hayes. The 9th player on the team is an absolute stud, and that's Ty Nichols. Actually, the last 2 guys have the same first name and the same spelling, and they're both ridiculous studs. So Ty Nichols from the Northeast region, the LEC conference in Keene State, graduated in 2019, 6'3" guard, averaged 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 2019. He's the all-time leading scorer at Keene State. Boy, tell me how you came across Ty Nichols and what he brings to this team.
Yeah, I mean, Ty is one of those players, like every year, like we get players graduating that are obviously elite level players, but we just don't have room for them. It just is just a roster crunch, returners, playing Division III and then playing in the TBT are a little bit different, because you go from Division III to now playing against NBA guys. Right. So we like them to be a little bit more seasoned. Ty was one of those ones that we've always had our eye on. And when a roster spot came available, he was the very first person that I called. He amplifies our tattoo count by like about 1 billion, but like an unreal type of player that just loves to play the game. Like with him, he played in Kosovo, and then the season got canceled because of COVID. Then he went to another team, I think in Serbia. And now he's back home. He's playing in all these like money tournaments. So he just loves to play, but a very gifted, another type of scorer, but also very competitive defensively as well. Like he's not just I just toss up points type of player. He likes to get after it at both ends. Really, in terms of kind of scoring, does it unorthodox. And by that, I mean, like his shot selection, you're going to have to live with it, because he's the only one that can make that shot. I can't. So it's one of those things where I'm going to have to just understand that that's what it is, because he is so gifted and he knows his game so well. But also defensively, he's a very kind of guard-oriented player where he wants to guard the best guy on the team. He will give them fits, and he will kind of get up in your stuff, and he's gonna pick you, and he's gonna probably go down the other way and cram it for a dunk. That's just how he is. Like he just played in a tournament last weekend that I was watching. It was streamed online, and he just did phenomenal. So I think with him, I'm anxious to kind of see how good he's going to be on the national stage, because I have really high expectations for him. So I'm looking forward to him showcasing that, especially I think it's a player that got overshadowed just because Keene is located in New Hampshire. I think obviously the LEC is a great league, but just when he was coming out, there were several players that were putting up big numbers as well. Like Eric Demers was one of them. A couple others. Laterno had a player, obviously. Springfield had a player. So I'm looking forward to him kind of solidifying himself and separating himself.
Then your final player, again, first name is Ty, and he's another all-time leading scorer in his college's history. Similar, this is a kid that was a little bit overshadowed in the powerhouse central region because Ripon is in Wisconsin, and so you're in the shadow of the WIAC. But boy, Ty Sabin, graduated in 2017, 6'3" guard, averaged 31 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He shot 55% from the field as a guard. He was an All-American in 2016 and 17. He's been playing in the Swedish Basketball League. And this guy was an absolute stud Division III player. Talk about your player, Ty Sabin from Ripon.
Yeah, we've had Ty Sabin. Ty Sabin was on my first TBT team when we played Sons of Westwood. But at that time, he was a year into his pro career. And to see the growth, I think year 2, he had something come up where he couldn't be with us, but to have him back is phenomenal. He's got a great personality about him, but for him, one of those players that really coming out of Division III was primarily a scorer. That's what kind of Ripon required of him, and did obviously an unbelievable job. But over the course of his professional career, and now he's playing in Iceland. So he went from Swedish to Iceland. He posts videos on his Instagram where he's like in like hot baths and pools and stuff. It like looks like paradise. He's living the dream. But he's truly evolved into a more complete player. And for me, I've seen the biggest growth for him as a player in a short amount of time as I've ever seen. Because he's now defending, he's now becoming a more elite level passer. Obviously still has a scoring ability. Like I think last week he just put up like 39, but it was like one of those 39 where he just took what the defense gave him. So for him, his growth has been just off the charts. And I think largely that's because of all the hard training he's done in the off season. Like he lives, he eats and breathes the game. He truly has worked on his craft and truly worked on just becoming a true professional in every sense of the word, whether it be diet, whether it be working out. So for him, he's going to be, mark my words, one of the premier players on the court when we take it, because his experience, kind of like what we were talking about, DaQuan Brooks. Ty is now at that stage where he's been around the block a time or two, and now he's really evolved into a complete player, which is really cool to see. I know Ripon's very proud of him. They should be. He's a great dude. So I'm looking forward to having Ty back with us this year.
That's the 10 players that will represent Division III on the team called We Are D3 in the tournament. And again, you can go to the tournament.com teams We Are D3 to see the roster. Now you've got a bunch of coaching experience. You've been a head coach in Division III. You've been an assistant coach. You're going to have an assistant coach with you, and Matt Droney. Talk about Matt a little bit and kind of his background and what he brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, with Matt, he's been my right hand guy all along. He's probably, co-GM, co-head coach in my opinion. And he is that with our squad because he's won a national title at Babson. He's had tremendous experience, especially for being overall a young coach. Like he's coached at Vassar, he's coached at MIT, and now he's back with Babson, doing real well with them under Coach Brennan there. And obviously they've had tremendous success. So he's back at home. He's been an unreal resource for me and the team because he can talk about winning and he has a fire, and him and I will go at it, which is great because I think every head coach, and every coaching staff needs that. He's a head coach in waiting. You'll be talking to him in a year or two when he gets his head job. He's a phenomenal resource for the players. He works everything with us from now. He's talking to the guys about, gear and kind of coaching on top of his actual coaching duties. So he's been with me all along. Really looking forward to kind of continue to see him grow as a coach and continue to kind of be my right-hand guy and be my backbone kind of as we continue to go on this journey, because he's been with me since day one and he's great.
So you have a great staff, you have a loaded roster. And as we start to wrap up, I guess just a main question from me is how this works in terms of getting this team ready to play together. You're going to play a game in July, single elimination bracket. And, in the past two showings, you've played really well together. How do you take this group of Division III All-Americans and All-Stars and mold them together quickly into a team that can take the floor against D1 studs, in some case NBA guys? I mean, how do you put this together and get ready to play?
It's a lot of preparation. And I think it's not X's and O's. It really isn't, because these are professionals. It's not like I was coaching at Division III where you got to teach them how to guard a screen and things like that. These are true professionals that don't need me telling them that. My job and Coach Droney's job, and I have another coach working with me, Josh Nunn, who's actually another D3 guy. He goes to University of Dallas. He'll be helping us out.
Sure.
And he's a young coach in waiting, so he'll be working with us as well. Our job is to put them in situations where they can succeed. And I think for me, what has made us successful in the past, and we got to continue to work on it, is really knowing the players. I've got to know how DaQuan Brooks plays, and kind of knowing how that fits in. And a lot of that has happened because Coach Droney and I, when compiling the roster, how we envision they fit. So one thing that we've always prided ourselves on is the preparation. We don't cut corners. We run training camps with the players where we bring them to the site maybe about a week and a half prior to the game, where they can just play with one another. Because that's the biggest thing. They got to have that chemistry. So that's the biggest thing, and put them in situations where we think we can kind of expose the opponent's weakness and kind of play to our strengths. I think for us and just everything, just kind of what we're trying to do, is really be solid defensively. And limit offensive rebounds. I think that's the biggest mantra. But we do a Zoom call as a team every other Friday, where they can at least bounce ideas and use resources, because we're all in this together. We do the training camps, constant communication while they're kind of finishing up their seasons right now. So really, some TBT teams just show up and play, and those typically are the teams that do poorly. The teams that really treat it like a great and tremendous opportunity, and our guys do, take advantage of it, and we prepare. For a lot of these guys, this is an opportunity for them to not only represent their alma mater really well in the division well, but also for them, like a player like DaQuan Brooks, getting another opportunity. Joey Flannery, year one, Ben Strong, year one, year two is Eric Smith and Johnny McCarthy. Several pro opportunities became out of their what they showed on the court those days. So for us, the more times we can show who we are on the court, the more games we play, the better these opportunities for the players will come. And they're treating it as a truly a professional opportunity. So in short, a lot of preparation that goes into it.
Yeah, and I suspect that all of these guys, your 10 players and the coaching staff, everyone in Division III has a chip on his or her shoulder for some reason. Either it's that I didn't get a Division I scholarship and I thought I should have, or I went to Division III and people look down at it from the outside. They don't know how good we are. So I suspect that these guys, it means a lot to them to play well and play well as a team. Win or lose that first game, I think we'd all like to see the team win the game, but to compete, to play hard, to represent the division, because you easily could have played the UCLA guys or the Syracuse guys and got your doors blown out. You could have, and everyone would have just said, hey, look, that was a tough matchup as a 16 seed, but that didn't happen. The guys played well. And, Coach, I hope you know that we're all huge fans of this squad you've assembled, and D3 Nation will be out in full force rooting for you guys there in July. This is going to be really cool.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm super pumped. Like, I think we're at the stage now as a team where, we've had a couple good showings now, and I've talked with the team about this. Now is we're winning. Maybe not the whole thing, but we're going to make a run because that's kind of where we're at in terms of level, interest, kind of Coach Droney, myself, Coach Nunn, kind of how we've refined it throughout the years. And we got a pretty good pulse on kind of how the tournament operates and how the teams are assembled and what wins and what doesn't. So I'm really excited to see what this team can do, because I really feel, and Coach Droney and I were talking about this last week, that something special is happening. I don't know what it is, and I could be, 2 months from now, you'd be, wow, Coach Reg, you were completely wrong. And that'd be my wife will tell you that happens on a daily basis, so I'm used to it. But I really feel like this team, the personalities, the team we've assembled, the staff, the backing of Division III, and the help from you, not only you and the D3 Hoops guys and all that. I really feel like something special is going to happen, whatever it is. Maybe I get thrown out in the first minute. Maybe that's special, but I think that's where I'm excited to kind of just play, especially because last year we didn't get a chance to showcase because of COVID. And so for me, this has been a long time coming. And I think for a lot of these guys, it's been a long time coming. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, playing with all the bells and whistles on ESPN and things like that, that's great for the division. But like you said, more so, we want to compete. We want to show what we can do. We want to win. We're not just going there just to show up. I think that's long gone. We want to make a run and sustain this train that we've already started moving on for years to come.
Mike Rejniak's the GM and the head coach of We Are D3 as part of the tournament. And Twitter wise, Mike, let's have people remember to follow both you and the team account. Off the top of your head, you remember that the team account, We Are D3. What's the Twitter handle at? At
We Are D3 TBT.
And your personal Twitter?
At Coach Reg. So REJ.
REJ. It's Rejniak, but it's REJ. Right.
Been pronounced wrong my entire life. Just wrote it out from 8th grade on.
So make sure, folks, to follow both of those accounts. so you can kind of stay up to date on what's happening as this team kind of gets together and embarks on this cool journey. Mike, we couldn't be more excited for what you've put together. We appreciate all the time it takes to do this on behalf of Division III. This is super cool, and know that people are going to be rallying around you guys. And any final thoughts, Mike, for the folks that tuned in today for the roster reveal?
I think just all the support. Like, I think Division III is such a special family. And I think those, like, you've been a part of it for a long time. Like, I've been a part of it for a long time. I think it's one of those things where it's such a cool family, all the support, kind of just getting it off the ground, but also just overall for kind of what we're trying to do and just kind of seeing it, you know, kind of what we've been able to do, but what is on the horizon is pretty cool. Just overall, just thanks for everything that you do. I mean, yeah, you and I, you know, do this because we love Division III basketball. It's not because of the paycheck, you know, so it's one of those things where, you know, it's just really special to be a part of it. And I just want to thank everybody for the support throughout the years and just really, you know, we'll continue to do you proud because, you know, for me, that's what I want for the players, the schools, and just overall the division. But thank you so much.
Yeah, Mike Rejniak, make sure to follow him individually and make sure to follow the team account. Mike, this has been awesome, and I appreciate your time today.
My pleasure. Be well.